Tic, tic tac, tic tac, tic tac, tic tac, tic tac.
Tic tac indeed, ladies and gents. Welcome to a Wolves Fancast special. A first time, I think, guys. Transfer deadline day live stream. We're going to be counting down to the 11 o'clock deadline and hopefully bringing you the news of any imminent Wolves signings. If not, we'll bring you all the rest of the news and you can all get really angry about it, as seems to have been the case today. I've got Luke and Dan with me. Boys, a rare occurrence as a Wolves fan. We've actually got something to play for on deadline day for once. We're all normally slightly disappointed that we might not be in the market, but now that we are, it's all becoming a little bit stressful, shall we say?
Lads, seriously, every other transfer window that we've had in the last 5 to 7 years, we've all moaned when Wolves have signed a development player. That's literally all we've signed today.
They're already through the door, Dan. They're through the door. Harvey Griffiths, he's going to be the man.
350 grand. We've signed a 17-year-old for Man City.
Money man.
Honestly, it's if I wasn't already bald, my hair would be pulled out. Am I WWFC in the comment section says Scott Sellers out. It's
Agree.
one of those nights today. Someone needs to be held responsible for this recruitment window.
You might call him Scott Seller.
I want Sellers' head by the man on the horse first thing in the morning, no later. Souls down the river, mate.
What? Seriously, guys, whoa. I mean, this is a fiery start, but are we really that angry? Are we that angry?
Mate, do you know what? It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. The shit that them feeding us. I said when Nuno went, okay, give it time. Bruno came in, give it time. Transfer window open, give it time. I've always said, give it time, and we will judge at the end of the transfer window. The transfer window has an hour and 57 minutes and 14 seconds left, and Fosun have shit out. What's the point? Okay, do you know what? Bruno is style of football fantastic. The last 3 games have been better than Nuno's previous 43. Can't deny that. But the board haven't backed him. Okay, we've made a couple of signings, but every man and his dog can see we need more than what we've got.
That's one of the biggest frustrations, Gully, is the fact that you look at the sort of football that we've just put on show the last 3 games. With 2, just minimum 2 key additions to that starting 11, we could literally push for that top 8 again. And it's so frustrating. We've been absolutely dick teased in the last 24 hours about getting Renato Sanches, and that looked like in hindsight now, that looked like it was never even going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I want to set the scene a little bit now, though, because a transfer window isn't about one day. There's a whole process that goes into it. It's a significant period of time where people can do their business. And if we go back to the start and we go back to Bruno Lage's appointment and the expectation levels at that point in time, and we compare it to now, the only difference really, I would say, is obviously a couple of additions, the likes of Mosquera, who we haven't seen, Jose Sar's come in, Francisco Trincao, Hwang, we haven't seen either. So a couple of additions really we can speak of, plus 3 games of football, in the Premier League and a Carabao Cup victory. So are we in the right space to really, after 3 games of football, have changed our expectations from what they were? And they weren't high at the start of the season, were they?
No, not at all.
But I feel like we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves maybe at this point.
No,
I don't agree with that, purely because of just the intent that we've shown. You look at certain players like Matinho and Neves, the last 3 games, how high up the pitch that they've actually been sort of dictating play at times. We do look a completely different team. Defensively, we're so weak at the moment with Kilman, Sace and Cody at the back 3. You had sort of someone like Bolly at the back.
I don't know what games you've been watching then, Dan, because I don't think we're that weak at the back.
No, but that's what I'm talking from a personnel point of view. I think defensively we've actually been really strong, but you look on paper, that's not our strongest defence, is it?
I think because I was thinking about this when we was playing Man United Sunday. I think when Bolly comes back in, hopefully it strengthens the team. I think Kilman, I'm not a fan of Kilman, but you've got to give him his due. He's been fantastic the last 3 games. Cody, he's not going to cut it. Fantastic man, fantastic captain, but as a footballer, we've got to be aiming higher. And Sayis, he's always got a mistake in him. And I like Sayis, but Sayis should be a squad player. 12 starts, 18 appearances off the bench or figures like that. We don't want to be looking at the end of the season where Sayis is starting 32 games in the league. Hopefully, Bolly will replace him. But then, who plays in Cody's position? Because he's the weak link. Kilman has got him out of jail 4-5 times in the last 3 games.
Isn't that what your football team's about, though? You work as a team. You work as a
making 4 or 5 mistakes in 3 games.
No, I wouldn't necessarily.
Not good enough.
We know the risk reward that's in that team now. That's just how it's going to be for us to a certain extent, though. You know, we want to be on the front foot. We want to be opening ourselves up a little bit. It's going to happen to a certain extent. Now, I totally agree with you that, you know, we would like an upgrade in those positions. But if we were to finish this transfer window as we stand right now, is it as bad as everyone thinks it is, honestly?
Yeah. Look at central midfield. Look at central midfield. What central midfielders have we got? Neves, Dendoncker, Moutinho to get you through a 38-game league season. Neves, always good for a suspension. Moutinho ain't bad for a suspension either. So what we're going to do if we're in a position where Moutinho picks up a not for 3 games and Neves is suspended? Play Dendoncker on his own? Dendoncker and Sayis in the middle of the park? Is that good enough?
This goes back to my point earlier, Gullies, that with the intent that we've shown, they haven't given Bruno a good hand to play with for the rest of the season.
We knew that, though, didn't we? We knew that was going to happen.
The club made it clear in that Ask Wolves series that we had to sell to buy. I think when things have calmed down and we try and look at it with a bit more optimism than negativity, the fact that we've still got Neves and Adama here, it's not as bad a window as what people will make out. Obviously, with the additions of Saar, Mosquera, Trinquet could still be an amazing signing for us this season. You've got the likes of flipping Jimenez who've come back. Daniel Pones is now fit. Neto will be back sort of November. If some people are saying, I've been told January, February. We'll look at it then. It's disappointing because I said we've been dictated with Renato Sanches. Bruno Lage, as I said earlier, was, in my opinion, 2 starting 11 players away from having a good push at the European places, and I don't think we can.
Let's have a look at it then. Let's have a look at what we've been working with over the last 48 hours, like we say. I think from the club's perspective, it's been all about a central midfielder and a centre half potentially. The names that have come up, some really solid names. You know, players that are playing at good clubs, have good experience in European football. Renato Sanches, as we mentioned, ticked all the boxes. Portuguese, central midfield, gave us that something different, I think, if he was to come in. Sounds like all hope is lost on that one. From a centre-half perspective, you know, the likes of Douay Chaleta-Sarr from Marseille and Sven Botman, 2 players again. You know, a league title winner in France, another player who was playing at the Euros for Croatia. You know, really solid options there. Good point made there about Bolly and Sace going away with the African Cup of Nations. So numbers at the back is important. Boubacar Kamara from Marseille as well. Been linked. Sounds like that one potentially down the drain. Kiefer Moore, which was an interesting one that's kind of come back around after about a week or so.
The modern day Sagba, desperation.
I really don't understand the thought behind that one, if I'm being brutally honest. No, I have to say. The other one that has been bandied about as well is Tosin Adarabioyo, who I think wouldn't necessarily be everyone's first choice, but if you had to make a centre-half signing, I don't think he'd necessarily be the worst option in the world. Especially
I still think that's got an air of desperation with it, Gully, to be honest. I mean, him and Joachim Anderson might have done decent in certain games. I know they keep Liverpool out at Anfield the one game. was that 0-0. I think Fulham managed to scrape a point, and I think those pair have lived off that performance because at the end of the day, they still got relegated under Fulham.
I think they got relegated more because of their lack of attacking threat, though, than necessarily the guys at the back. But we've seen that teams are doing business. In terms of you hear those names and you hear us being linked, and you see that we are clearly making efforts to bring people in. Does that make you feel a little bit better about it, or you're not really cutting it with the club at the moment?
Nah, it's not cutting it for me.
I think lack of trust has definitely gone, hasn't it?
I want to go back to the point that Russ made earlier. Lager said, I want 2 players for every position. Was it last week after the Man U game or the game before? He said he wants 3 or 4 new players to come in. So you've brought in a new manager and you're not backing him. And he's openly saying, this is what I want. This is what we need. And you're not backing him. Now, the effort might have been there, but they've not come off. And for what reason? Who's negotiating?
So, I mean, let's get some of the chat that's been in the WhatsApp group today, out in the open. I mean, I feel like if we'd have brought in Renato Sanches and we then found out he wasn't going to be available till, say, December, would that have been a smart move to make? Really?
It's a tough one, that goalie, because of the caliber of player that he is. If you're going to get him from December all the way to the end of the season, that could be the difference between 8 or 9 points, maybe.
Can we count on
then
that?
You might as well just get him in January when he's fit.
That's probably what I would say.
All these other clubs that were linked to him previously, like Liverpool were linked to him, I'm going to try it again in January.
These are all the things that people have to consider. It isn't just as straightforward as finding a player, negotiating a player, and then just getting him in. I really don't think it's as straightforward as people feel like it should be. And especially at this point in the window.
Gully, when did the transfer window open?
What do you think about this comment, lads, from Gaz Roberts? We have a worse squad than when we got promoted.
I don't know if I agree. I mean, I look at that team that finished 7th in the first season. And I think when Neto comes back, it's pretty much the same, isn't it? You just swap in. You
lost Jota, Patricio, and Doherty. And Doherty. Those are the 3 kind of mainstays. So, and from a squad perspective, I don't think we were deep beyond that, really, were we?
No.
There wasn't a lot of options. Helder Costa and Cavallero were there. I mean,
there's fellas out there with micro penises that are deeper than our squad.
Yeah.
It's Lager's come out and he's even said openly in the press, and the board have failed him. So, in my opinion, if we have another poor season this season, you don't put it on the players, don't put it on the gaffer, you put it straight on the board. It's as simple as that.
So with the benefit of hindsight then as well, obviously we've had some departures over the course of this transfer window. Morgan Gibbs-White gone out on loan today, as we've all seen, to Sheffield United.
Shambles.
Owen Otasawi left.
Shambles.
We're talking about central midfield and having options in
Shambles.
there. The fact that we've only got 3 first-team players in there now.
Say it again, Luke, for the guys at the back.
Shambles. Absolute shambles.
It starts to feel and add up and look like a pretty confusing window. I think you're right.
There's plenty more, Gully. You've got Corbiano, Tyler Perry, Austin Samuels.
This is the thing.
Patrick Catrone, Rafa Mir. The list goes on.
Don't pretend you ain't happy with Catrone going, Dan. Don't even start that one.
No. I said earlier, keeping Neves, keeping Adama, getting rid of Catrone, plus the 4 players that we signed earlier on. When you look at that tomorrow, when everything's calmed down, you'll think we could have had a lot worse a window. But when you let players like Mir and Catrone go and you haven't got a ready-made replacement, because Kiefer Moore isn't the ready-made replacement that we should be setting our sights higher. Wolves, Tim Spears posted an article in 2018 which said Wolves are keeping tab on 5,000 players a month as their scouting network dramatically increases.
That's just how many players Talking Wolves have linked us to. 5,000 players a month. He's just took that straight off the Talking Wolves Facebook page. That's where he's got that information from in those stats.
I always
let's look at this. let's look at this, right?
Wolf Bristol loves that look. Utter shambles, mate.
I mentioned earlier about, let's say Neves picks us up a suspension, and all right, it's all if buts and maybes. But let's say Neves picks up a suspension. He could easily. He's good for a red card a season, eh? Let's say he could miss 3 games. Martinho picks up a knock. He misses 2 or 3 games. We're in December. When do Bolly and Sayis go? It's about December, early January, isn't it?
January, yeah.
So we've got no Neves, we've got no Martinho, we've got no Sayis to step into central midfield. Who are we going to have centre mid? Then Donker and fucking Cody. Tyler Perry just come up on the screen. We can't even call up kids in times of a crisis. Let's say with Jimenez and Silva, if they pick up an injury or suspension, can't even rely on fucking Austin Samuels because he's gone.
Stephen G. Walls can't believe we let Morgan Gibbs-White leave without a replacement.
It makes no sense.
I think the Morgan Gibbs-White deal, it feels very baffling, especially considering they could have probably held on until the last few minutes of the window and then either agreed to it if we brought someone in. And
still time, lads. Tic tac.
Tic tac, tic tac. I always think that when it comes to these deadline days, there's always one club that seems to bounce around a load of targets. Because things are always falling through the net, and it always feels like maybe like a West Ham kind of thing to do. Who've predictably been a bit of a shambles previously, prior to David Moyes coming in, or I don't know, it might have been like a Sunderland when they were in the Premier League. Just jumping from target to target, not got a real plan for what they want to do. And this year, it seems like it's us, and we haven't had the real thought process behind it all. So. As we said, is the trust slowly slipping away in the leadership at the club?
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. They're the ones who came out, said what they said about their ambitions, where they want to take the club. The fans didn't. When Fosun brought the club, the fans didn't sit there and say, yeah, we're going to be top 4. We're going to be fighting for Europe every season. Because we didn't know what there was about. It was Jeff that said it. So, of course, we're going to start getting giddy and thinking whatever. So for me, it's not good enough. It's as simple as that. They've come out, they've bullshitted us. Now the lies are starting to come. All the lies are starting to come out. All the bullshit's starting to come out, and that they've been found out. So they said at the beginning of the window, we need to sell before we buy. First of all, you've got to question why. It's not like we're not getting millions upon millions upon millions from TV revenue, and then we're not getting millions upon millions upon millions from sponsorship. And as a brand, we're so much bigger now. So obviously our commercial income is probably tenfold bigger than what it was. So why we got to sell to buy in the first place? But you know what? I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. We've got to sell to buy. Let's see how it goes. We've sold. And all right, yeah, we've made a couple of signings, but not to the level that we should for what we've recouped in transfer fees. It's a piss take.
Financial fair play would always be brought in for this sort of question. They did sell us a dream, and obviously I think with the pandemic and how much money they've lost, maybe of their goalpost move and their financial sort of demands or goals have now changed.
Yeah, and that's why I said I can accept that and give them the benefit of the doubt, and that's why I will take on board the buy to sell, and I'll say, okay, you know what, we're going to buy to sell. Let's see what happens. So we've sold. But in your honest opinions, with what's gone out, has enough come back in this transfer window? And we can't. Surely we've got money to play with, because if Sanchez was going to be 30 odd million, that Botman was going to be 30 odd million. Then we're looking at other players for like 12 million. So obviously we've got money to spend. So why haven't we? It's either because one, they're full of shit, or two, whoever's negotiating this deal.
Okay, clearly a lot's gone wrong over the course of the window. But then at this point, do you just spunk it on anyone you can get your hands on?
Nah, of course you don't, because you've still got to be sort of careful in what you're doing. But at the same time, do you then only have one target for each position? in your
Clearly,
short.
I don't think they do though. Surely not. Surely not.
Of course not. So even if you go into choice number 7, like Spurs went with Nuno, you still go with choice number 7 because we could be fucked. This is the problem. And I'll say it again, never suspended. Martinho's got a niggle. Who's playing in the middle of the park?
Yeah. Jordan, where are you on the frustration scale today? On a 10 or between 1 and 10?
I guess if you look at the window on the whole in terms of that frustration, probably a 6. But after what's happened in the last 24 hours, it's got to be a 10, hasn't it? Like, you know, like we're all dreaming last night of going to bed with Renato Sanches in a Wolves shirt, and he'd have just, let alone Wolves, you know, he'd improve a lot of teams in Europe, let alone us. And I think that is exactly what we're after. A midfielder who will drive with the ball, dribble with the ball, create loads of chances. It'd have been a game changer for us. Exactly that progressive midfield that we've been missing and screaming out for. I think when you look at it in hindsight, because again, we've got a bit of time, but I don't think we're going to get anyone in now. I don't want to disappoint anyone. I generally think it's done now. We've just waited too long. I still don't think we've addressed the centre-half situation at all. You know, 7 windows. Is it going to be now since we last signed a centre-half? Well, in terms of like, since we came
do you think the 3 games that we've played so far might have had an impact on that?
Possibly, but I also think that we've kind of papering over the cracks a little bit of what we've said has been a problem for, well, all the last season, that we're not strong enough defensively. We're not strong enough. We want to move to a back 4. We haven't got the players to play back 4. And I think that actually we've probably papered over the cracks a little bit of how well we've played. And in terms, I know we haven't scored goals, and that's another issue altogether. But we've looked like a really good team, I think, over the last 3 games. Granted, we've got no points, but that's with us playing well. If we dip off a little bit, or like Luke said, a couple injuries or whatever, I think we're frail as anything at the back still. I think you can get it. Size, Cody, Kilman. Like, I've been a massive advocate of Kilman this season in terms of, I think he's been brilliant. I've been converted a little bit on that. However, I think we're frail. I really do think we're frail at the back. And where my frustration is that Bruno Lage, I was in the waiting area when Luke was talking earlier, is that 22nd of August, that he said, I want 3 or 4 players 9 days ago. Right. So, and we haven't done that for him. I know we brought in Hwang, who I think is going to be a fantastic signing for us. But we haven't backed this manager. And I mentioned it in the WhatsApp earlier that, and maybe it was a little bit in jest, but could you blame Bruno for walking away? It's almost like he's been promised a job, and he's got to the job, and he hasn't been given the tools he's asked for to complete his job. Like, for me, it's I couldn't blame him. I genuinely couldn't blame him. Like, it's I know you've got your opinion on this, Gully, that you'll speak about, and that's fine. But for me, he's been literally sold a dream, or at least a pipe dream, and we haven't backed him. I'm sorry.
Are you League of Bell? Like, are you commenting at the same time? Like, honestly, everything you say is coming through the comment.
I was literally about to say we'd sold down the river, and that comment come up before. I was literally like,
he's got his fucking alias, commenting in the background, backing him up every word he says.
No, but genuinely, like, I don't think we've backed him enough, and it's very early days. But what I saw over these, you know, even the Forest game, those first 4 games, I know we said it at times under Nuno, it was the best football we've seen. Like, this genuinely is the best football I've seen a Wolves team play. And I know it's very premature, but it is.
Luke, that point about Bruno walking out, I mean, in my head, I'm like, who the hell is Bruno Lage to walk out on a Premier League job? If I'm being honest. Hasn't been in work for 18 months, only has 1 senior position to his name. Yes, he won a title with Benfica, but do people really think that he has the standing in the game and the goal to be able to do that?
It would be a shock if he did, but if he did, I wouldn't blame him. I really wouldn't blame him, because I think Jordan's hit the nail on the head. He's been, and League of Bell / Jordan, whoever's who, but it's
Daz. Go on, Daz.
Not the Daz.
Daz Russell, no doubt, isn't it?
But But I mean, if you went to a job and there's like, yeah, we're going to give you this, that, and the other, and then 4 weeks into the job, there's no sign of this, there's no sign of that, and there's no sign of the other, you're going to consider your options, aren't you?
Don't know, mate.
Because he's still got a reputation on the line, and nobody wants. I'm not saying we're going to go down, but it's making his job a hell of a lot more difficult.
The only thing I think about is if he was to walk out, who knows when his next opportunity is gonna come at this level. Ultimately, yeah, I mean he's got 3 pretty positive performances to his name, but he's got 0 goals and 3 defeats as well. I think talk of that is feels very premature, very premature. But again, I have got this idea in my head that yes, we all want signings, we all want people to come in and things. We have lost the sense, I think, of where our squad actually sits within the league. Personally, I think because of last season and the way we played, we've kind of lost our gauge of how good we are. And I think we're better than last season as a squad. We underperformed last season. That's bottom line. So to necessarily expect, big names and top players to come and walk in and improve the team, you're shopping at a decent level if you want to bring in really good players.
I think you make a very good point. I really do think you make a point, which then makes it even more frustrating. Just imagine if we did. Just imagine if we did get that centre midfielder in. Like there's a geezer who was just on the telly. Perfect. Tottenham don't even want him. End on belly. Put a loan bid in with an option to buy in the summer. Exactly the central midfielder we need. Can't even believe we've not looked at him, if I'm being honest.
But this is the thing, Luke. Some of the excuses that we're reading about some of these players not wanting to come, the likes of Chileta Sarr, the likes of Boubacar Kamara, is they want to be playing European football. We're in that limbo space where we could be up there at the end of next season. I mean, part of me always thinks that with modern day footballers, they want to go and play for a club that's already there rather than striving for themselves to go to a club and then achieve it with that club. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They want to just go and land on their feet somewhere rather than say, I can go and improve that side and I can make sure that side is then going to be a top 6 club, etc., etc. And they just want it on a plate, but it's a difficult one. It must be a really difficult one.
But then at the same time, with a lot of these modern day footballers, pound coins talk.
Yeah.
Massively. And I think that to go on, what I was going to add to that is the last 12 months has done our club reputation is give us a battering because we were everyone's second team for those first 2 seasons in terms of we were, don't want to say with the media darlings, but everyone's like, oh, they're the party poopers. They're going to give everyone Wolves versus Man City, Wolves versus Man United. We want to watch this. There could be an upset. They're going to give them a game, all that sort of stuff. Last year was fucking awful. It was awful from off on the pitch, off the pitch, terrible. And we've lost our little bit of attractiveness or sexiness to come to Wolves. It was a project before. Last season, anyone who watches on the telly thinking, I don't want to join that. I don't want to play under that. And I know it's a completely different manager, completely different regime, but we've lost that. 12 months prior to that, do you think we would, and say, I know it's all hypothetical, after we got in the quarterfinals Europa League, Sven Botman would be signing the contract. Colette Kuchar would be signing
It'd be all to talk about the project again. They always used to use that phrase, didn't they?
Exactly. The project. And that's gone a little bit now. And
just before you continue, I know Dan's just put the tweet up from Tim Spears, looking like that's your lot. So maybe we do have to get our, head around the idea that we're not necessarily bringing someone else in at this point. So, I mean, what do you make of that initially?
It's underwhelming, isn't it? And again, sort of, it's underwhelming from the last 24 hours. Overall, it's not been horrendous. It's been better than most transfer windows we've had in recent times. But again, it's another transfer window where we have come out of it without a centre-half, which we've known we needed for 6 windows, and a ball playing, a progressive midfielder, box-to-box midfielder. We've needed that for 6 windows as well. So it's just major. It's just incompetence. It's so poor, so poor, and that I don't want to jump on the bandwagon of. I know Twitter's going to be, if that is the case, like they're going to be getting a lot of stick, like and I think it's justified. I really do. I'm sorry. I'm not. I'm not all about lynching people such as Jeff or Scott Sellers or Vinnie Clark or whatever.
The more to blame. Vinny's a prick as well.
No, they've let us down. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not advocating lynching them on Twitter and social media, but they've let us down. There's no two ways about it.
Get the bed sheets out.
So, okay, we've resigned ourselves. No.
Yep. Look at the comment. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm always reticent to, with the central striker and playing second fit. I'm always a little bit reticent with those kind of takes, because for a fact, there's no one that's going to sit there on the bench and just take the lack of minutes. It's just not going to happen. No striker is going to come in and just say, you know what, I'm happy until Raul gets injured. It's just, you don't work on hypotheticals like that, do you?
But then you can't just go through the season with two strikers, and
this is why you've got someone like Kwang now, like who can do the job.
But does he play through the middle?
He can.
Will he play through the middle?
He'll play through the middle, I think.
Okay then, fair enough. But it still doesn't answer the Neves, Moutinho, Dendonka. So where he's saying
that's a totally fair claim.
Fosun should have learned a lesson from that. They haven't learned the lesson, obviously, because touch wood. What if a serious injury was to happen to one of those three central midfielders? Like, seriously, what are we going to do if that happens? And I know it's all if buts and maybes, but what are we going to do?
I'm here to pose the question, so I will. Bruno was known for his ability to develop kids.
Where did Bruno play? Because he might have to put his boots on in a couple
he
of
never
months.
played. That was the thing. He actually never played, did he? So a manager that was known for bringing kids through the system, famed.
Got rid of them all.
Famed Benfica Academy. He obviously brought through the likes of João Felix. We might not have a generational kind of talent like that in our under 23s. Is this the point? Is this the time when Fosun, who probably appointed him on the basis of some of that kind of stuff, will say to him, look, we've got a few options here. We want you to use them, or we need you to use them.
Well, why is he asking for 3 or 4 more players then?
Yeah.
Because obviously he doesn't rate them well enough. So let's have a look. I'm going to what youngsters have we even got that are close?
Well, Luke Kundle's on the bench every game.
Well,
he's going to be getting a whistle-stop tour until January at least of all the Premier League grounds. So he's going to be on the bench. It's just the one thing, again, like there's so many questions to come out of this. And there's no doubt they've obviously huffed and puffed and they tried to get transfers in the door. But how can you let Morgan Gibbs-White go out on loan? Like I know it's so stupid, but how can you let Morgan Gibbs-White go off on loan when we haven't got a replacement? And I'm not saying Morgan Gibbs-White's the answer. It just makes no sense to me.
It doesn't. No, you're totally right, and that one baffles me. That baffles me. I have to say. Let's think about it another way. Then, are there any deals that you've seen going on over the last kind of 48 hours that you've liked the look of from other clubs? I for one was looking at Florentino moving to Getafe as a. Why weren't we involved in that? Is there something wrong with him at the moment? I don't know, but that felt like a decent deal if we needed to get numbers in, especially.
Yeah, for the buy option as well, a 10 million euro, which is criminal.
How much did Kurt Zuma go to West Ham for in the end?
It was about 25 million. There was talk that he wanted to stick around London, I think. Is one of the London factor might have played against us there. But a great player who you'd have taken in a heartbeat, I think.
I think Hudson Edward to Palace. And I'll tell you what, people was questioning Palace, myself included, because they had a lot of players out of contract. They've done some fantastic business. They have. That young lad from Reading, who's going to be absolutely superb. They've signed, they've signed that Edward as well.
Yeah, Gooey, Anderson.
Yeah, Gooey, brilliant.
Gooey.
I've done some good business out.
It's Gooey, isn't it? It's Gooey.
Gooey, whatever. Yeah.
Our
Mine,
under 21s actually have just beaten Wigan on penalties.
oh, well done. Promote them. No,
So-
for me, the one I saw earlier was Burnley being offered like Weston McKinney.
Yeah.
It's like that's again like that's a box-to-box midfielder who would do a job for. I'm not being funny. You can't say he wouldn't improve the squad. Well, I'd say that anyway. Don't matter who we've got or not. He was fucking at Juventus and America. You know what I mean? He'd been in the US national team for so long. It's
ladies and gents. I mean, you know, Wolves might not have a deep squad, but the Fancast certainly do. So we've made a quick change. Luke has left us for a short period, and on comes number 84, Adam Price.
Number 84.
It's on your Twitter handle. That's the only one I could think that you might have to be back.
I should have done the warm up before I come on.
Oh well, are you not fired up already, Adam? Are you not seething
lads.
at this point?
They've dropped the ball, haven't they? What a shambles! I know Luke said it about 84 times already. Shambles, but isn't it? I'm trying to think of any other words to describe it. To be honest, I mean, the problem areas have gone completely unaddressed, have they not? So like. The last forever long we've been saying centre halves, centre backs, whatever, central midfielders. Did we get any? No, we've let one go actually to Sheffield United. We've left the midfielder go. So we've weakened ourselves there. What we're gonna do in January when say somebody go off to the AFCON? Are we gonna have like a trolley dash in January when the window opens?
Panic mode now. Is it officially panic mode?
Well, I can't understand. I just can't fathom like their way of thinking, of how they've approached everything. So let's take the main one then. Let's take Sanches first because that was one that we all got our pecker up last night, didn't it? About Sanches, and it's come out today that the guy's basically crocked until towards the end of the year. So my thinking is, how have we got this far into negotiations and only just realised that the guy's sitting on a 3-4 month injury? How have we got this far into negotiations? Surely, if they've done any sort of due diligence, it doesn't even take long to check how long an injury. I'm sure all three of us could go into physioroom.com or something and just check the guy's injury. Yeah. See how long it's. I mean, so. As we've said, we've been kind of led down the garden path a little with that one, to be honest. And then we've had some others thrown around, like your Sven Botman's, how is it, Kaleta, you pronounce him, I don't know, but those have been floating around, to be honest, in areas that we need, and we've not been wanting to pay the fees or whatever, and I don't know whether that's an FFP thing that we still, until this time next year, we can't do anything about that, I don't know, but the one player that we have signed is in an area that, I guess we probably sign Hwang because he can flex, can't he? Like he can play up front and then in potentially areas where Gibbs White would have played. So that's why. Was it who was the player that we were thinking of signing? Just not Diawara. What was he? Kamara. Yeah, he was like the centre back stroke midfielder. So I was thinking they're going to try and do the same here. Be the Emblem utility man. He can play like at the back or midfield, and I'll say that we'll kill two birds with one stone with just one player. But I don't know, mate. Underwhelmed, massively underwhelmed because we should be looking. Bruno, we said it. You guys have said it already. Bruno has nailed his colours to the mast, saying he wants 3 to 4 players. He wants to grow the squad. Us fans have been asking for that for the last couple of seasons. Have we not finished this window now weaker than when we started it? I don't know. It's a strong question.
Possibly. I mean, it's a difficult one. I think because, just personally looking at the bench at the Manchester United game, I thought just with the addition of Pedence coming into that Premier League squad, you had a look at it. You had the likes of Gibbs White, Dendoncker, Fabio, Ait-Nouri, Herva, Bolly as well. Yeah. That felt like a Premier League bench, didn't it? And, with Gibbs White dropping out of that and you probably having someone like Chem Campbell who would step in, it starts to feel a little bit more amateurish again. So you are kind of back to square one and you wonder what the thinking is. loads of clubs do it, and I'm pretty certain it's the. I just don't understand why we didn't hold on to Gibbs White until the last minute of the deadline and say, look, he ain't going until someone comes in, and if it doesn't happen, then you keep hold of him, and you have to protect the club's interests ahead of what I'm sure will be good experience for Gibbs White, but ultimately he's been paid by Wolverhampton Wanderers, isn't he?
Yeah, but I'd love to have been a fly on the wall today at Compton, because you are right. Every club does it. We've had windows been open for over 2 months, and it's not just us. Every team seems to do all the business on the last day, and I don't ever really get it. But it's like when you watched Sunderland Till I Die, and they were just in that room panicking over Will Grigg, and it's just like,
I can't imagine it ever got to that stage.
I don't want to go to a million, but I'm going to have to. And he's like, Stuart Donald's there, like, oh, this football club's going to kill me. But it's like, the one thing I don't get on board with in terms of where I'm not buying it with this Renato Sanches deal is he's always been injured. Like when we said we were interested, we knew he was injured till at least October. And then they've come out today and go, oh yeah, his injury. No, nothing to do with the injury. Just tell the truth. Like when you entered talks, he was injured. And then RMC came out with a tweet saying Renato Sanches wants to leave Lille. He asked Jorge Mendes to get him to Wolves. This guy wants to join us, and we still can't get it over the line. It's like I just don't get it. Honestly, I'm.
What if it was that Will Grigg situation where we're being held to ransom on it as well?
I'd give him another €5 million, Gully. To be honest with you, I'd just like I generally like. When are we going to get another chance or another crack at the whip of getting Renato Sanches? Because he's going to be fit come October. Lille will probably play him, and then come January, Liverpool and all these other teams will be backing and sniffing around him again. So this was our best chance of getting him, and we haven't done it.
Would you pay the extra $5 million for Kiefer Moore?
I mean, I wouldn't have paid $5 million up front, like anyway. I don't think, just because I don't see the point. I really never saw the point when, again, you know, the clubs put all their eggs in the Fabio Silva basket. If you're then going to turn to Kiefer Moore with 10 minutes to go in a game, what is the point? Because that's what would end up happening. He'd just become that option to chuck balls into the box at when we're chasing a game.
This is the thing. This is like, again, a bit of the calamity about it, because you could say we're quite a top-heavy side as it is at the minute when you consider who, you know, the pool of defenders versus like midfielders and then forwards. And then you think, well, why are we spending our time, effort, and perhaps money on getting a guy from the champ? How old is Kiefer Moore? Is he about 29?
About 29, I think. 29, yeah.
So why are we spending money on the guy for the Championship with no resale value? That, you know, when again these problem positions at the back are going completely unaddressed. If Scott Sellers was going to Jeff Shee, saying, "Oh, Jeff, look, there's this guy Kiefer Moore in the Championship. I think we should get him in." If Jeff hasn't got rocks of brains, I'd say, what the fuck are you doing looking at him for? Kiefer Moore, get back into your boardroom and look at defenders, for Christ's sake. But obviously, Jeff, with the best will in the world, not a football man, is he?
Well, maybe he's coming in to play centre half. Who knows? Who knows? Another example of the fantastic squad depth at the Fancast. Matt, how's your evening gone, pal?
We've got an enforcer.
You've got your deadline day vest on, it looks like.
Well, you know what I mean. We've got an enforcer on now. Oh,
double change by the looks of it as well. The main man,
the gruesome twosome are in now. Right said Fred.
He's definitely come in his best deadline day gear.
Listen, it's obviously concerning at present, and I know that Stu is about to undo all my hard work about what I'm about to say, because I want to bring a level of calm and maybe a bit of devil's advocate to this.
I've tried my best, Matt. Honestly, I've tried my best.
Obviously, listen, there's areas of the pitch that we've needed upgrading for how many windows now? 6-7 windows, and that's apparent. That's apparent that we've needed upgrading. One thing that comes to my mind at the moment is we're in a position with a new manager in Bruno Lage, and I wonder to myself, are Fosun nervous? You know, of course he's going to say, I want quality additions, I want 3 to 4 in each position, I want this, I want that. Of course he's going to say that. What kind of effort, what kind of message does it send across if he just was to say to the squad as they are now, oh yeah, everything's fine, everything's great? He doesn't exactly invoke ambition. If people are fighting for their places, you're getting the very best out of your squad. That's point number one. Point number two, though, I do feel that Fosun are nervous about allowing Lage the keys to the city, perhaps, and spending that money on, let's be completely honest, a manager that split the fan base completely down the middle when he was announced. Has he earned the right to be given this war chest yet? Now, from what we see so far, yes, you're absolutely right. But a point you made earlier, a very good point, is that he is being brought in because of his expertise and his excellent work with youth players. Fosun do not want to be bent over a barrel and become a Villa and have to spend money needlessly, because that is their operating, and that is their methodology. Wolves don't want to be that. Wolves don't want to have to be a selling club and do a Southampton and have to sell its best assets because they're forced to. You know,
an interesting tweet just there. I don't know if you can see that on screen, of Wolves basically in profit over the course of this summer. That doesn't account for any Trincao or Hwang options taken up at the end of the season, of course. But on the face of it, the balance sheet looks good, and maybe there's a round of applause to be had in the boardroom for that. But I'm going to get Stu in here because I can literally hear him breathing down our necks to come and have a word. And he sounds like he's seething, so I'll let you take the floor, mate.
I was just going to say that sheet's not entirely correct because 4 million of the Rafa Mir money was a sell-on from where he was before. So it is still it is still a small profit, but it's not the 7 million that it looked like there. I've tried to be what Matt said is all very nice and understandable, but if you bring a new manager in and you don't back him, what do you want?
No, but what we're saying, Stu, if it's to be believed, and when you look at it in the cold light of day, when Nuno wanted to leave, he wanted to leave. He wasn't sacked. He wanted to leave to go to a bigger club in Spurs, and then we have to bring a manager in with an unproven record in terms of Premier League experience and etc. And it's another gamble, and where Nuno was a gamble, and it's another gamble. I can understand a hesitance to throw money at it when the squad that we have in the first place is more than enough to compete to stay in the league. That's all I'm saying. I can understand the hesitance.
Have Fosun paid for your camper van? Is this what's happening here?
Mate, listen, as I say, I'm here as a devil's advocate. I'm here to add some balance to this because
I think if they didn't trust him, why bring him in? Yeah, he's a good coach with youth players.
Because someone has to manage the club. Someone has to manage the club.
Nuno was unproven, and they still give him shitloads of money. He had more money than any other manager in Wolves' history. Completely unproven. I don't get that whatsoever. I just completely disagree. He's openly said he wanted 3 or 4 top players, and they've given him 1. As of like I said, with hour and 10 minutes left,
he has to say that, doesn't he? Like, if he's to say no, everything's fine, everything's great, then
no, he didn't. He didn't have to put a number on it though. He could have just said, ideally, we there's certain areas. If we'd been like pragmatic like Nuno used to be, saying, "Oh, we know we're working on things," but he said 2 or 3 top players. He didn't have to put a number on it. He could have just said, "We're working. If we can get players in, we'll do that, like you expect normal managers to do." Listen, but it's blatantly obvious. Like everyone's already said, and I tweeted it earlier. 5 transfer windows, same defense. It's a joke. And we've got a kid from Colombia who's obviously not ready and was never bought to be ready to be thrown straight in there. They even said that at the time.
I mean,
and to go 5.
Not to split hairs. I mean, it's not the same defense as it. We've brought in Nouri.
Well, central defense.
Well, central defense, yes. But if as every single analyst that has come out of the Rock has claimed, we'll be going 4-4-2 within a week. So you know what I mean. So the focus needs to be the midfield, not the.
And that defense was good enough for 7th in the Premier League 2 seasons in a row. Lest we forget.
I'm as disappointed as everybody else about the window, and I'd love it but I'm disappointed because I was hoping that this season would be a march on Europe, not a march to play against Cardiff and Swansea in Europe. Do you know what I mean? I'm as disappointed as anybody, but I'm just trying to understand and trying to think for the reasons why Fosun may not be as or might be more hesitant to spend than say a Villa who seemingly, just go mental with their money. Do you know what I mean?
Well, Villa have spent what they can afford to spend on FFP. No problem at all. We haven't, with our investment, we've had no own investment. It's there in the balance sheets. They haven't put fuck all in. The only money that we've spent is what we generated ourselves. Fosun haven't put.
Isn't that the ideal model for any football club to be able to be self-sufficient?
In an ideal world, yeah. But if they want to be in Europe, you can't be self-sufficient with a 31,000 seat stadium and half a stand worth of corporate that's worth anything. It's not possible. So, yeah, the defense will be here in 2035. It's just not possible. I mean, they've sold us this dream. They've put the prices up. They've done all this nonsense. They promised a new temporary stand when the old one's still not. The old one's broken. It's just a whole catastrophe of 18 months of nonsense, and it's all coming to a head now with Aaron 10 minutes. Well, technically 1 o'clock in the morning because of the other things that can happen, but Aaron 10 minutes to go, and we've got one less player than we started the day with.
That comment there, then, and Anthony Bentley. I still think we can finish top 10. I mean, I personally thought. Again, I made this point earlier to Luke and Dan about the fact that expectations at the start of the transfer window and our expectations now are, I think, heavily influenced by 3 games of football, essentially, and that if I'd have taken probably a 12th or 13th place finish at the end of this season, at the start of this transfer window with Bruno Lage at the helm, having watched a better football team, really, I reckon I'd have been okay with that. Is that now not the case? Should we be expecting more and wanting more?
I don't think it's unreasonable to be expecting and want more, because there's been things like a massive increase in season ticket prices and all of the calamitous things off the pitch that have happened. I don't think it's unreasonable to expect more. I just think that, well, we're all very guilty of this as a fan base and as football fans in general, of letting our emotions get the better of us a little bit. And I think when, and I say when, because I'm very positive, when we beat Watford, the mood changes again completely. And, this defence that's so terrible that has to be changed immediately, only conceded 3 goals against Leicester, Spurs and Man United. You know what I mean? Like I put earlier, if we'd have played 3 bottom 3 teams and we'd have scored 11 goals, would we be half as annoyed now at this point in the window? We wouldn't.
I think let's be honest, we wouldn't. It's more the fact of having to play a back 3 because of who we've got that's limiting us having an extra player in the box. More. That's the main problem with me. I mean, the chances that we missed are just ridiculous. That's a different story altogether. And whoever's at front, you can't legislate for that. But for them to set, for me, I didn't expect anything anyway, because ever since the summer, I don't believe a word that comes out of their mouths anymore. I just don't. And it seems to have been proved right. And for them to come out in that video to say, "Oh yeah, we're going to do the deals will be done late." Okay, fine. We won't have a meltdown until the last week. Then we get to the last week, and then we get to the 2 days before, and now there's an hour and 6 minutes remaining, and we've got 1 player in. They said that we were going to do deals late, and they've got
you can't say there's not been a concerted effort to make a deal happen, though, Stu.
But as there, we've courted an injured player, and then shock horror, he's injured, and they didn't know. Come on, there's something a bit weird about that, and not wanting to pay 12 million for a defensive midfielder who's widely regarded as someone for the future and the now, when they can spend 35 million on Fabio Silva, who's a prospect. It's all bollocks. Nothing makes any sense. It just doesn't make any sense. You're trying to explain that to me?
I can't argue with you at this point, Stu, to be honest, and it's bothering me. But yeah, I mean, that's a good question, actually, I think, from Nate, from Football Neophytes. Is Lage forced to stick with the shape that we've got now? Because I think, personally speaking, we've played well enough with the 3-4-3 to give it more of an extended run. And if it is the case that we can't sign someone at a reasonable price who's going to improve us to play with a back four, I don't think this is necessarily the end of the world in terms of sticking with our sticking to our guns a little bit.
I'd
No.
agree.
It's not the end of the world. Go on.
No, I'd agree. I think, and if we're going to have to stick with this because of the recruitment, then it's frustrating. It's massively frustrating, and we all want to see even more of this massively expansive game that we've been playing over the last 3 and 4, if you count the League Cup. And if we could get more of that and have even more of a threat because we've got an extra man to be able to be creative, then that would be even better. But the fact of the matter is, unfortunately, we haven't. I think what's important for us to realise now is prior to today, Kilman was the second coming, and all of a sudden,
he still is.
I would exactly. So we're talking about Bolly, we're talking about Mosquera, we're talking about Kilman. It's only about a week ago people were calling for Marcel to be moved into the middle as well, and
I personally think, if you're being honest, I think a 6th centre half is a little bit overkill. If you're asking me, and yes, I agree in the idea of bringing an upgrade in, but if we're then to just bring in a centre half for the sake of bringing in a centre half, and it's going to be of no better quality than what we've already got, it just doesn't make sense to me. 6 to cover 3 positions. Nah, I'm not comfortable with that.
I think the bigger loss is in central midfield at this point now, when you're thinking the cold light of day about it, in that we're very archetype now there is not much different that we can do in the middle of the park. So for other teams, it's very easy to predict what we're going to do. We can't really mix it up at all, which is the more worrying thing, really. If we can't mix it up and we're very predictable, teams are going to know how to play against us from minute 1 to minute 90. And that's more of a concern for me than not signing a centre-back.
Yeah, I think the central midfield is the real casualty of the window, really. But Stu, I mean, I know you've been on the Fabrizio Romano hype all day today. Have you had any envious glances towards any deals that you've seen going on that you maybe thought would have done a job for us or anything?
I mean, there's a lot of players who've, like, you look, Palace now signed Edouard from Celtic. Yeah, obviously Ronaldo's the obvious one. Edouard from Celtic.
That would have been the ultimate like decadent kind of indulgent signing for us. God, Jesus Christ, it is for Man United, to be honest. But
I think that the way we do things, you can't look at other teams. I mean, obviously West Ham have got another one of their trio. Well, no trio in that Suchek's took credit for on Twitter. This is quite funny. Yeah. But it's all much of a muchness. You look at it's just the fact that other teams are doing things and we're not, and we know. Like, you look at the midfield problem where we've now got three players for 2 positions.
Well,
for
Danny
for 3 months.
To Reading, so we could have always been in for that deal.
I think
one win in 4 years.
Exactly.
I think going back to the Morgan Gibbs White thing is the most baffling. I would like to know which deal fell through that, for some bizarre reason, Morgan Gibbs White still went through. Because there had to have been some form of process and domino effect with one going out, one coming in, and something not happening.
I mean,
but
just stick him in a car park in Sheffield and make him wait and say, you're not signing anything until we bring someone in. It didn't make sense to me. I was always banging the Ademola Lookman drum, to be honest. He's now gone to Leicester. There was another one just mentioned on that comment there. It's just slipped my mind. But yeah, you're right. It's seeing people do stuff, but we don't need Nikola Vlasic. We don't need to spend 30 million euros on Nikola Vlasic to West Ham, or 30 million on Emerson Royale to Tottenham. We don't need to get involved in that kind of stuff. So if the market isn't actually really there, is it better off to not bring anyone in and just keep hold of what we've got?
Yeah, you don't want to just bring in bodies for no reason. That's just ridiculous. But it keeps going back to what we were promised, and it was a promise. It wasn't them just saying, "Oh yeah, trust. Oh, we might do." They said, "Trust us." That's what they said, and we have trusted them, and they fucked it up. So I think everyone's more than rightly angry with it all.
Can we say we fucked it up when we're 3 games into the season?
Recruitment wise, I mean, going on team performance, it's better than anyone could have expected. And from that point of view, I think they'll probably get away with it. But it's coming back to the same thing again. As soon as we get a few injuries, we're completely screwed.
It's officially 1 hour to go, by the way, gents. So
we're into DEFCON 3 territory.
we need some kind of gong or something, like, you know, just to mark the moment. Have we got a countdown anywhere? Oh, there we go. Another quick switch. This is roll on, roll off. It's like fucking Sunday League now. Off goes Stu as well. And back from Adam.
Like the old content creators cup massacre, wasn't it? That's the old roll on, roll off.
Well, we don't like to bring that up, do we? We don't like to bring that. Yeah, I mean, back with a fresh legs. Have you come back refreshed, gents?
Well, I'm not about refreshed. I've just been scrolling through the BBC transfer deadline day, and I got to the 9-12 entry where it says Wolves halt key for more bid, and it's just depressed me even more again. Just reading that, saying Cardiff wanting £12 million, Wolves not willing to pay that amount. But it says Bruno Lager likes him though, apparently. But
I can't believe we'd be after him if he didn't. But I'll be honest, I'm more than happy for the club to not get involved in that kind of bidding war with Mick McCarthy. But I mean, is there anything you've seen, Jordan, from other clubs that you like the look of? Because I don't see necessarily any absolute proper good deals going on, if I'm being honest.
No, I think to go from your point just where you're saying, do we need to be in the market for 30 million for Nikola Vlasic and Emerson Royale and all these players? No, we don't. But we've got our own issue. My biggest problem is we've got 2 major issues which we haven't addressed again for the 6th window in a row. We haven't got a centre half in, and by centre half I mean a fully fledged leader, brawler, whatever you want to call it, centre half. We haven't done that again, and that sort of ball maraudering midfielder who's going to take box to box and drive us forward up the pitch, and we haven't addressed that again. And I think there is obviously a market there because we've been looking around and we've been linked with players and stuff. And I generally think that we've literally, I don't know, I've just got no faith in this Fosun anymore, or in terms of that backroom stuff. That Aspel thing in the summer when it came out, everyone was quite positive because everyone was saying we haven't heard off Fosun for 12 months. No one's telling us what's going on. They've come out. That video, when it came out, everyone was generally positive over it was 3 parts, wasn't it? Or it was 3 parts, I thought.
Yeah.
I know there was the part 2, maybe the first 20 minutes where people were like, hang on a minute, it sounds like we're selling our souls a little bit. But on the whole, I thought that content was good. And then it's come out then, the ticket prices have risen because we need to compete with the likes of Tottenham's and all that. Again, that's hard to swallow being in the area that we are. It's not the most affluent area around Wolverhampton. But again, fans have took that on the chin. There's still been a good uptake of season tickets, sellouts for the first 2 games. And then we just proved today that we don't mean it. Like anything they say, I just don't say I don't believe it. There's no okay, anything they say now, if it doesn't come with substance, I'm not going to believe it.
Okay, I mean, let's look forward. Look forward a little bit, because I think over the first 4 games this season, if you include the Carabao Cup game, I think the club's built up with the football that we played. Well, the team has built up a little bit of kind of goodwill with the fans. There's a good vibe, positive atmosphere up until the point Mike Dean decided to get involved on the weekend. But we're going to have this international break, obviously, to stew over what's not happened rather than what has happened. And we go into the Watford game, we're hopeful for it. I think we're all positive given what we've seen from the team and of a good result. So how do you think this will impact the next interaction of the fans with the club? I know it's an away game, obviously, against Watford, but can you sense maybe a bit of toxicity in the air next time we're at Molineux, maybe, Adam?
I think it makes the Watford game, it makes that even bigger now because we really need to get points on the board, and arguably you're looking at we want to get from our September run of games 9 points on the board, really, considering who we're playing. I know that I'm not asking a lot, really. Three wins from 3, but we need it considering how well we've been playing as well. And imagine how good it would have felt if we'd have gone into this break with a brand new defender or midfielder or whatever. Certainly in the positions that we needed, we'd have got a proper, really good lift put on top of how well we've been playing. It would have been we wouldn't have waited, couldn't have waited for the next game, and next game at Molyneux would have been bouncing even more than it would do normally. But I don't think there'd be any toxicity as such because we're there to back the team. But I think what'll happen if it starts going bad again, like if we don't get this goal or get this win that we need, the full-time reactions will be worse now because even though we've played 3 games and 2 of them at home and we've not troubled the scorers, we're still applauding the team off because we can see how well we're playing and we can see all the chances we're getting. That's only going to go for so long, I'm sure. And if we're still letting in goals, we're all going to start just pointing fingers at the recruitment team and Jeff, probably more so the recruitment team, to be honest. They're the ones where the buck stops when it's getting these players over the line. So yeah, it's we can all see it. No fans blind. We can all see what we've needed. I'm just baffled as to why the recruitment team just haven't stepped up, and haven't addressed it. And I know that this FFP thing is going to come into it again. And maybe it is. Maybe we're not. Maybe we're just giving it lip service, and maybe this thing really is hamstringing us until next year. But if that is the case, we need clear communication from the group, from the club, and I don't think we're getting that in many respects at the moment from the club. Any clear communication, but yeah, I'd like to think there won't be any real toxicity. Certainly for what the Brentford game, the next home game, I'd like to think, because that's not going to help the team, is it? If we're there, if they're without bed sheets before kick-off,
we're no strangers. We're no strangers to vitriol. No,
of course not. No.
But if we lose that Watford game, I know it's all hindsight. If we lose against Watford, because we're just, we talk about the positive here, and I don't want to be the glass half full guy because I'm not generally. But if we do lose that game to Watford, I'm telling you now, it's not going to be nice at Molyneux against Brentford, because it's all that's going to happen in this international break is fans are going to work themselves up in a frenzy. Foes like Jeff, someone needs to come out in the next couple of days and explain what's gone on, just to get something out there. Whether fans buy it or whether they really want to do it or share anything, or what they can or can't share, they need to come out with a statement and say something, because
we know though.
But let's face it, though, what's the odds of that happening?
And we know. And to be honest, I understand why they don't say anything sometimes, because whatever they say could be twisted to whichever narrative you want it to. That's just the way of the world. Everybody takes something different from, those videos that came out. There was always a different perspective from whoever watched it, whoever listened to it.
But you know what they won't? Because then that opens the floodgates, then, doesn't it?
Of course it does.
For them having to explain every little action.
And can we be reminded? Can we be reminded that this is the first time we've spent 4 consecutive seasons in the Premier League since the 70s? This is still uncharted territory for this football club for the longest time, and it is still worth thinking about that.
I get that, but there's also multiple missed opportunities to go even better than what we've done. Because if you notice, we've now started with their first 2 seasons. We were in the seventh place and we were looking up. We were looking at 4th place, weren't we, at one point? And now Matt mentioned it earlier.
Yeah, but that was Nuno, the bottle job.
Matt mentioned earlier, we've now changed to we've got enough to stay in the league. We've suddenly the sights have dropped dramatically from we want to be pushing the big boys to we'll be all right to stay in the league. But
we know why that is, and we know it's a hell of a lot of expenditure to get ourselves to that stage. We know that.
It is.
Well, Fosun should know that, shouldn't as well. Coming into this industry, you don't get far in this industry by.
I mean, their first
fielding
three seasons in a row, they were a cakewalk, really, though, weren't they? they must have been laughing.
Well, the first year, they got a rude awakening, didn't they? With
apart from that one,
with the Zenga year, yeah, and then obviously it's all gone. The trajectory's been like that for like the next 2 years, and then it's we've hit a bit of rocky times considering, but you can't. Like I say, you can't progress by wanting to have a paper thin squad and having like 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds occupying the bench or 2 keepers on the bench. It's with the best will in the world. You've got to push on, and unless there is something really, really holding them back from investing in the club and doing it smartly as well, you have to there's obviously questions that are just going unanswered at the minute, and that's what George. That's why we're getting all worked up.
I heard Christian Marquez is doing very, very well in training recently. Sondergaard and talking of 2 keepers on the bench, there you go. He's not going to be on the bench anymore. He's going to be starting for Randers FC, and as is usually the way, great loan move for him. Just a great loan.
What I was going to say before that came up was, I know we're obviously talking about competing and stuff, but before a ball was kicked last season, like, you've got to think about where we were, think about where West Ham were, and now look at the trajectories of the clubs. Like, it's literally with chalk and cheese. Like, West Ham were in them, like they were shit, and I'm not saying we are like that, but their fortunes hasn't turned around by them spending millions and millions of pounds. Like, I think they've brought well, and we haven't.
They also stumbled upon a striker in Mikel Antonio. Who could have foreseen that kind of thing happening?
Yeah, but then you could say they've like stumbled across Thomas Souček, Kufal, Jared Bowen, Ben Rama. Like,
and how many of those players would you actually take?
What now?
Yeah, right at this moment in time, who would you actually? Souček, I think
Souček's a given.
Yeah. Soufal's decent, but is he necessarily going to enhance the team? Ben Rama, maybe, but really?
But
we've spoken about this before. We've got a good squad. We do have a good squad of players.
Yeah, and I know that's where we're saying we shouldn't be too downbeat, because that core of the squad of players is there. However, we haven't kicked on, and it isn't. I
think we're in a better place than we were last season.
What, pre the season kicking off?
Yeah, having let go of Jota at that point, I'd say we're now in a better space.
I think the problems have just shifted. So last season, weren't we saying we've got no one up front other than Raul? Or in fact, we were moaning, we were saying we've got nothing up front. Now we have. We've got we're top loaded forward wise. But then you look. But then the problem is the big problem is in midfield. So as they just moved from one place to the other.
To a certain extent, yeah. But then I guess the quality in the centre of midfield isn't questioned. I think it might be a numbers issue, but in terms of the quality of player that we've got there, I don't think we've got a problem there.
No, I agree. I think Moutinho looks back to what he was in the year one in terms of he's looked great. He's looked like the Moutinho.
Last season, you could legitimately question the quality of the forwards that we had at the club were actually not good enough. The likes of Silva obviously coming in was never going to be ready. William Jose coming in when he did, clearly not good enough. At this point, when you've got brought in Trincao and Hwang, you've got Pedence back, you've got Neto to come back in as well at some point. I think that's a better squad available to us than last season.
Yeah, arguably, yeah. I do get your point with that. Something I'm struggling to comprehend, though, is obviously we know how well we've played, and Fosun would have seen how well we played in the backroom staff and stuff. We shouldn't have 0 points, but the reality is we have. It shocks me that we've got no points from 3 games, and we haven't paid that little bit extra for these players that apparently we're after. And again, I'm not saying we should have paid an extra £5 million for Keith Moore. at all. Not at all. But in our predicament, and it is a predicament, we've got no points, we've scored no goals. No matter how well we've played, like I'm surprised we haven't just gone, you know what? There you go. Like,
I'm just glad we're not getting linked to Mendes players all the time and now. Like,
that was only whilst he's brokering the Ronaldo deal. As soon as he's back from doing that, he's Sanchez.
Yeah, here's Renato Sanches. He's got, but you can have him. You can give him a home, can't you?
Yeah.
I mean,
is there still such a thing as the loan market? That was the normal excuse, wasn't it, back in the day when the transfer window shut and we inevitably bought no one? There's always a loan market.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
it closed in it like December or was it November? It used to close like a couple of months after the.
Quite a bit later, yeah. Quite a bit later.
Or an emergency loan.
Yeah, yeah. We always liked a goalkeeper emergency loan, didn't we? I think Andy Marshall we used to bring brought in a couple of times.
Andy Marshall, Graham Stack, or someone, or something like that. Yeah.
That last deadline day signing of significance was a Phobia, I think, on the one, and Jai was a total out of the blue last minute. Remember? Because we'd sold Nuadico, and we all thought, we must be getting a striker. But then in comes this midfield enforcer, and
I can't remember. I remember when Alf and Jai signed. They kind of passed me by a little bit. To be honest, I can't remember.
It was a really late one.
Was it deadline day one?
Yeah, it was deadline day. It was deadline day. Yeah, because like I said, we got rid of Dicko to Hull, and we all thought, well, surely we need a striker now because we only had Bonatini up there. The Brazilian legend, but I mean, are you holding out any hope? I know the social media circus doesn't necessarily tell us to, but things can happen, can't they?
From what I've seen of the team on the pitch, I'm positive. Like I said it on the podcast, I genuinely think we're not. I genuinely see what I've seen in the first 3 games, a top 10 team. Like I said earlier on here as well, the football, and it's very premature to say, is the best I've seen. It's better than the best football under Nuno so far for me to watch. But again, like we're only, an injury to 1 or 2 again, and we're in trouble. Like say, if Neves and or Martinez get injured, I almost, it literally breaks me whenever I see someone say, "Oh, we'll put Cody in midfield." But genuinely, if that happens with Neves and Moutinho, he might end up there. I
feel like Thais would be the first port of call there, wouldn't it? If you did have to shift someone.
We just had that comment there, didn't we, from Gaz Roberts, who said, "Is it Duncan Cundle in the middle?" There you go. It's Duncan Cundle in the middle. If the main guys are out, I mean, I think you're right. One of Sace or Cody would push up, but I mean, with that sounding that you hear in the background is the scraping of the barrel, isn't it?
Oh, massively, yeah.
When you get to that point, and that's the position we've left. We know we'll say this till they're blue in the face. That's the position that we've left ourselves in there. If we're not getting a midfielder in, or the guy we've mentioned earlier who could play both centre, defence and midfield, if baffling.
Is there anyone in the free agent market we could go after? And again, I'm.
One of Crystal Palace's released players.
Is that what Scott Sellers is doing there? Going on his database and clicking on free transfer.
You're offering them all for a trial at the minute.
I think the trouble with that is you can't actually register them at the end after the window closes, so they won't be able to play until like January.
Oh, really?
If you can bring them in, then you can happily bring them in, but they'll just be training for the entirety of the time.
Trialist.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're not panicking, are we? We're not panicking.
I'm panicking. I just feel deflated, really, and like just a bit. What are we doing? It's just missed opportunities again, really, from the powers that be. We can, as George said, and everyone can see with the first 3 games we played, there's so much to be positive about. Which is crazy when we've got 3 0-1s against our name in the league. But we can all see that this Large has got them clicking in the way that which worlds apart from what we were watching last year in the Nuno. But they just need, that's what you after you got this bit of positivity, you build on it, and the club should be going, okay, well, what do we need now to take us forward to the next step, or what do we need to build on what we've got?
Well, I mean, I find modern day football fans, we believe in the cult of the transfer. It has to be something fresh. It has to be something new. But I still think there's a place for just good coaching and improving players. We've seen nothing of Dendoncker really in, this Bruno system. Could he get a little bit more out of him? He didn't play well last season. Could he become quite a key player for us? Like Christian Marquez, all the talk was that he was going to go out on loan. Clearly, that hasn't happened. So is he going to become a part of first team plans? I know we're joking about Luke Cundle, but he seems to like him. He's part of the squad. Chem Campbell.
I'm all for that as well.
There's an argument for this kind of stuff. You can't just discount it, can you?
No, absolutely not. But then the problem is, if these guys get thrown in on the action, and they flounder, or they're not up to the grade, you just go straight back to why wasn't an established player brought in. But what I do appreciate is that you're not going to know that until you play them. You play said player. So there is a bit of yin and yang with that.
But you also want to put them in the right situation, because throwing them into a situation where we are on a run of like defeats isn't good either. It's almost like basically chucking them in the fire pit and seeing what happens.
But throwing them into a situation where we're on top in games and we're playing real intense attacking football, that kind of thing. That's probably a favourable situation to put in.
Yeah, of course it is, but we've got to be winning. We've got to be winning those games. For me, I think it'd be unfair to do it. And I thought, again, I'm not going to pin this on Chem Campbell, but we saw when that Villa Carabao Cup game, he was very raw, and he definitely wasn't ready then. I know it's a couple of years on now, and I've seen a bit of the under-23s, and he looks a good player. So I'm not against him having game time at all. However, is he going to be getting game time when you've got obviously Raul, Adama, Trincao, Pedence, Hwang, Neto back in 2022. These other players as well. Like, he's probably not going to be getting the game time. Kundal's probably more likely to get minutes.
Yeah, and if you're being honest, okay, so I know we've spoken about the fact that we've only got 3 players in that central midfield position, and there are such things as suspensions and injuries, etc., etc. But I don't see the point in bringing a senior footballer who is just going to sit on the bench. And if they're not going to play, isn't it more valuable to a young player to actually have them there as that fourth choice?
It is, because you've seen it work with people such as Foden, where Pep hasn't loaned him out ever, and he's sort of learned on the job. So there is that. I do get that. He's
an absolute anomaly of a footballer, though, isn't he? He's a ridiculous footballer.
That's what I was going to get to. I think that's sort of, like you say, that is an anomaly. Like a lot of you've got to look at basically what the framework is for Wolves. What do we do with our under-23s who've got any sort of, or people who've been playing or got prospects? We do loan them out. So it's not the general thing that Wolves hold on to under-23s that we're going to blood. Like, we like to get them out to get the senior football and bring them back when they're ready. So for me, the Kundal and Campbell thing, I do agree he likes them. I like Campbell. I've not seen a lot of Kundal. What I've seen of Campbell, I do like. But I don't think that's not Bruno's choice. That's just necessity. That he's just like, well, I've got to do it. Like, he like we said, he's asked for 3 or 4 players from the 22nd of August. We've got one in Hwang, who I do think is going to be a really good asset for us. But it goes back to it. I think we have let him down. I don't think there's any 2 ways you can look at it other than he's been let down by the recruitment team, and it's a shame, real big shame.
Well, this is clearly the hand that we've been dealt. I think Bruno has an opportunity to really earn his crust, though, and it's going to take all of his skills of coaching, man management, decide. If there has to be a bit of rotation in the squad, deciding which games are suiting which players, etc., etc. We have obviously not got any European football or anything to contend with. He does look like he wants to take charge of the cup competitions as well and really have a go at them, which I think we're all happy with. But I like to look for the opportunities in these situations, and I think there are a few. Stu?
That's why I liked Gibbs White at Forest, because he seemed to stand his authority on that side of the in that position in place of Adama.
He did play
which
well.
Which is even more baffling why he's gone until January. And is anybody Kundal up? Where's Taylor Perry and Terry Taylor, however many of them there are?
They're all the same person, Stu.
Yeah, Perry's at Cheltenham and Taylor's at Burton, I think.
Exactly. Are they really though? Are they just Luke Kundal in disguise? Who knows anymore?
I've seen them in the shirts. They've gone, I promise you. I've seen them on Sky Sports app.
So we have lost him, and we have lost Otasewi as well, even though he was only sporadically there, and his attitude is the reason he's not here. But it's still a body, and it's still someone who you think attribute-wise could have done well for us. Obviously,
okay. So Otasewi is a great example, I think, because we've spoken just about having that fourth central midfielder and how much use they are going to be to the club. So if you brought in a senior footballer who, was in the middle of their career, unwanted elsewhere, but you brought them in just as a body, could that player not become a disruptive influence, aka in the manner that they would suggest Otasewi might have been? If he weren't happy to play, if he weren't happy with the game time he's going to get, you're better off getting rid, surely.
But with only buying players, like Bruno said, he's only buying players that improve the 11. So that's the type of player he wanted anyway. So... we
couldn't get them. It didn't happen. So that's it.
Well, but then with Otasewi, it's quite obvious that there was problems there behind the scenes, and he was a bad egg, and we had to get rid of him. Like, doesn't mean that every footballer that comes to the club or gets promoted into the first team is going to be an arsehole. Like, it could be that we could sign someone. It's all like setting expectations. Like, if you go and sign someone and say, it's only like Football Manager, like, oh, you're going to be in and around the first team squad. If you set expectations, no one can moan. If they sign the contract, they go, I want to play more, Gaffer. Oh, well, actually, I told you were going to be first team squad. This is our first two. You'll get your opportunities, but this is it. Set those expectations from day one. That's that's reasonable for me. What will be interesting, I think, a question I've got for you two, to flip it a little bit, is hypothetically, say we are 10th, 9th, whatever it is. We had like a good period up to the January window. Do you think Fosun hit the button then and back Bruno for a push if we got a chance of getting in the top 7?
Personally, I don't. From my point of view, no, not a chance. Does that involve spending any kind of their own money?
It's not a bad shout. It's like a probation period, isn't it? You're giving him that 3 months of, look, show us what you got, and you can't necessarily argue with that, because if he spunked it up the wall, then you're stuck as well, aren't you?
Well, Arsenal have given 150 million to Arteta, and that's the reason why they haven't sacked him, because they look even more stupid than they do already for keeping him.
And that is the reason why we have a recruitment team, as well as
that's true.
Not just being the manager. So if they even said himself, Hwang was someone the club liked. He didn't say who he liked. He didn't even know the kid, other than his reputation. He said it was a Wolves purchase. So if that's come from our recruitment team, then what does it even matter? Why, when Matt was talking about it earlier, saying that we're not trusting him with the money, well, if we've identified these players anyway as a club, as in a recruitment team, and that's the structure we're going to go with, then surely that doesn't make any sense at all. It doesn't matter.
Well, no, Bruno said it himself, didn't he? He goes,
yeah,
they know the profile. They know the profile. They know the profile. So
exactly,
if the profile, yes, I mean, clearly they've gone out and they've got targets. We can see to that. Well, unless you don't believe where the club says or the media are saying, you can see that there's been a concerted effort to go and sign players. But some of the excuses, like I mentioned earlier, players want to walk into European football. They don't want to have to go to another club and have to achieve it. And I think that's a difficult stage of kind of our lives that we're in at the moment.
I mean, we are. So I think it was Russ just mentioned there about Martino being 35 soon, and Martinez's at 35, and it's something that we haven't had for probably about 7 or 8 years. Actual rotation, rather than just having the same players every week until they get knackered and then replace them with someone else. If we've got 2 players for every position like he wanted, then you can rotate them. You can have one week and one another. You don't have to be stuck in the same rut all the time. And we've got no choice now. We've got 2 out of 3, and one of them's going to come off, and one of them's going to have to play 90 minutes every week. So if Martinho's nearly middle-aged in football terms, then you got Bolly and Sace will be gone in January. It's asking a lot again.
Yeah, I mean, half an hour left on the clock, ladies and gents. So it really is last knockings if anything is going to happen. And by all accounts, I don't think there is. That's not an ITK, by the way. That's just unless Stu, you got any contacts? You heard any whispers?
No. I mean, the only whispers I've had is of a Cadbury's variety, but nothing there.
Good shout. Not a bad chocolate. It's a good, solid option. Lukey boy, we brought you back in. Have you been keeping track of anything? Has anything crossed your desk that is of interest? Or
Nothing's happened, mate. To be fair, I mean, I've got
anything elsewhere because I haven't really been looking.
No, I've got Sky Sports News on mute, but nothing's come up. Still saying, is it West Ham signed that geezer from Spartak Moscow?
Crowd.
Chelsea agreed deal to sign Sam Niguez, but that's been going on for ages now.
Decent signing. Griezmann, I think, was on his way back to Atletico as well.
Yeah, I think he's gone.
That's done deal. That's a here we go. And it's
34 million, I think.
He's the one that's done best out of this transfer window. Freaking Fabrizio.
He's been going all day. Fair play to the two of them.
I mean, he's obviously got his minions that are out there tweeting for him and stuff. But
he was tweeting. He was tweeting himself. He was doing the tweet. He was doing the tweets on air.
He's tweeting every few minutes, like surely.
Yeah. He was talking on camera, tweeting, and then he was disappearing off camera to go in on the phone. And then he was coming back and sitting down, and he had another guy with him who runs One Football. So I mean, they've been going. I mean, I was watching it from 12, and it's just
a great point. That is.
You know what, guys?
Really stupid now.
A serious question. I mean, I thought about it when he got sent back. Why didn't we just potentially loan him for another year, Vitinha? You know, keep the option on him. If he would have got more game time this season potentially, and you know, shown us a little bit more, could that have been an option?
I thought he showed enough anyway. I would have.
I liked him. I really liked him.
It baffled me anyway. Regardless,
what was the fee that they wanted?
I think it was about 20, but we negotiated Ait-Nouri down, didn't we? With a big hefty sell-on clause and whatnot. But you know, Ait-Nouri, I think we're all pretty comfortable with him being at the club now. And
Breaking news.
Oh, here we go.
Bellerin joins Real Betis on loan.
You heard it here first, guys. Forget Sky Sports News. That's not. That's all. That's all from Lukey T.
That's about as exciting as it gets, I think, lads.
Well, he'll be pleased to get out of that shit show anyway, won't he? So where do we go from here then, boys? Well, I mean,
Rotherham and Luton, I think.
Say again.
Rotherham and Luton, I think, mate.
Come on, Luke. Come on.
I just want to get to bed now. I've got the graveyard shift, and I've just head up.
They've put the entertainers on last.
I've got no entertainment to be on.
No. You got to say something that will piss him off.
Well, he's mocking my Cappy hat anyway in the group chat, which is out of order.
Oh no, I just asked. I thought it was actually funny. It made me laugh when he popped up on the screen.
See, I mean, why would you wear a shirt and tie on a stream like this? How nonsense do you have to be? I mean, you don't have a bit of fun in your life, are you?
Look, you didn't hear Stu's heavy breathing while he had it on. And
I did.
Like,
I thought look how small it is. It's a child's hat.
I thought I was on a premium rate line for a minute when he first come on.
Maybe that's what we should.
ASMR, is it?
ASMR. Yeah, Fancast After Dark. I just don't even know what to say anymore. I think, but I do think there's more to it. Now, this is where my tinfoil hat comes on.
Oh, here we go.
Like this.
This is what you've been waiting for all night, lads.
No, but with all this COVID and Brexit bollocks, China are actually stopping a lot of these Chinese companies investing outside of China, aren't they?
Yeah.
I think Jag Land Rover are having issues, Tata Steel are having issues with different bits coming in from China and trading to and from China. Does that have something to do with it?
Well, no, because they haven't invested for 4 years, so it doesn't really matter.
Well, yeah.
Well,
that's
yeah,
that sort of conspiracy busted.
Self-supply
was
was always a line, wasn't it? That's what we've done. You can't deny the club that you have to believe that at least, Stu. I know you don't believe anything else I say, but you have to believe that.
Well, they just the club generated its own money, didn't it? So you can't argue with that. I mean, the outgoings are not going to be missed, really. So everyone, from that point of view, it's a job well done.
Yeah.
I think if you go back 2 days ago before the Sanches stuff started and everyone being linked, and when we were on the show the other day and we thought that we'd signed a defender from Canal Plus leaking it, and then it was all bollocks. If none of that had happened and we come into today thinking, oh, well, we still need someone, and nothing had come out, would we still be feeling the same? We'd probably still be pissed off because we'd still got the same amount of time without signing central defenders again. But I don't know if it's expectation built up from that and from them in their videos more than anything else. Because I mean, I didn't believe it, but then I was tricked again. I was led down the garden path of opportunity and golden roses, and it's all bits in the arse again now.
I honestly thought we was going to do something today.
Yeah, I think we all did. And
something.
I still stand by the point. We have clearly made an effort. I think they have tried, but they weren't going to be held to ransom. And I wouldn't want to be one of those clubs.
No, I would. I
wouldn't want to spend £30 million on Danny Ings.
Well, how many goals is he going to get him? 20, maybe, if he stays free of injury.
I don't see him scoring 20. Yeah, he's scoring 20. His knee's going to blow up before he gets to 10.
I hope so.
Well, that's what I said. If he has an injury-free season, has he ever got 20? I don't know. I think so.
I mean, as you can see, reams and reams of notes and research going on into this, guys. So I hope you appreciate all that effort.
I feel like.
Can you tell Dan's on production today, guys?
What's Scott Sellers doing, man? What's he doing?
Maybe he's maybe that Arsenal leaked video. They've got one of Vinny and Scott Sellers. Maybe they've got one going on.
There's a video of the Arsenal stuff.
That's what the leak was yesterday.
There's not a video, is there?
No, that's what the Arabic translation was yesterday, and then they've come out, and then it's all gone ridiculous today.
It's just ridiculous rumor.
Mental.
Question then. I mean, obviously we've got international break to kind of navigate with all the toxicity and fume of Wolves social media. Might need to have a break from it, to be brutally honest. We'll see. But Stu, you'll be at Watford.
I won't.
You're not?
No, I'm not. I'm not there.
How come?
Yeah, you let me down here.
I'm going to a spa retreat in Gloucester.
That's like the least. That's the
what biggest bombshell in headline that is
from you. I was
news.
not expecting that.
Yeah. I'll still obviously watch it through certain means. I'll be watching it with bubbles around me.
You can have a facial.
You can have.
We can't talk about that. Dan just said.
hot stone massage on your back and stuff.
Yeah, bring it on.
That.
Are you ruling anything out?
Oh,
why don't you get one of those massages in nothing but a towel and that hat?
Different type of cappy going on there. Well, yeah, but it's one of them things that, yeah, this is what Fosun have done to us. But to be fair, I did book it. Well, we did book it when probably early January when I said that there'd be no chance for any away games. Yeah, there'd be no away games and it'd be 50% capacity at best. So it was one of them things when I looked at the fixtures, I thought, oh, Watford's one of the worst. I mean, the concourse at Watford's terrible anyway. So
you know what that tells me, Stu? We just can't believe a single word that you say, to be brutally honest.
I never said I was going to Watford.
This is another thing with the international break. What if somebody picks up an injury on international duty?
Well, some of them ain't going, are they? I think Jimenez ain't going anywhere because of red list country. So that's that then. We're fine.
But it was good if Neves is repping the Wolves dad on tour merchandise selection again, ain't he? So
looks like you're on the way to Whitby.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone has to do. You do have to get on this train, Gully. You know this. Next time you go anywhere,
which one?
You have to pack at least one item of Wolves clothing per day.
I do. I tend to. Yeah. I mean, was he doubting me there that I wouldn't do it? That I'm not proud?
On the days that you take
enough. I go. It's not everywhere I go. Abroad, yes. Yeah, 100%.
Well, there is no abroad at the minute, really. So,
I'm going away. Hopefully soon. Fingers crossed.
Okay. Bombshells again.
There we go. Not telling you where though.
Are you dodging the feds? Going to a red list?
No, not at all. Not at all. I'm going to Spain. Nice little quick hop over to Spain. Hopefully, bring back a centre half with me. See if I can scout one on the beach.
They've had our pants down now, though, let's be honest. I know Matt
Have they had your pants down, Luke? Have they had your pants down?
Matt was trying to sugarcoat it earlier, but you can't even sugarcoat it. It's just a mess. It's a shambles. They're taking the piss.
Are you getting mugged off here? Seriously?
If you try to sugarcoat this, you get diabetes. It's that bad.
I'm pissed off, like properly pissed off.
Oh, I can't wait till we beat Watford and you're all fucking happy again. Can't wait. Honestly, I'm really looking forward to it.
Nah, do you know what? I hope we do absolutely fantastic.
And I really hoped Troy Deeney was still going to be there to see it all happen, but he's fucked off, hasn't he? The pussy hole.
Because regardless of what happens this season, we've got to back the team, and we've got to back Bruno because Fosun, and that's where the anger needs to be aimed at Fosun because they're the ones that have fucked up, not the players, not Bruno. It's Fosun.
I mean, we'll try and end this on a positive note because ultimately, like you say, Bruno he set out his stall. He's been as blunt as anything, really, as blunt as a football manager can be about the way he wants things to go, the way he wants us to play. And he stuck to his guns. We've gone out and attacked every team that we've come up against so far. Only come off against Nottingham Forest under 18s, unfortunately. But, the way we played against Manchester United, a team who were riding the crest of the fucking Ronaldo news, and Jadon Sancho made his first start. Rafael Varane needed all of his, expertise and defensive nous and everything to make sure that they kept a clean sheet that day. That's a World Cup winning, Champions League winning centre half.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Was team's trouble?
Absolutely fantastic. I'm still frustrated that we lost.
Yeah. I think in a weird way, this could galvanise everyone together. For everyone behind the team and behind Bruno, as they have been so far in the first three games. It don't necessarily need to be against Fosun. It's more of a
okay. 86 has answered all of our.
Do you know what? I actually feel a lot better now. I forgot all about you.
He looked a decent player at one point in time, your dad.
How long's he out for? I bet he's out till about January.
I don't even know. I have no idea.
I think at this point he's kind of merged into the dugout. He's still there.
He's still waiting to come on, man.
Waiting to get on.
What game was that now?
It's the last game of the season.
Was it Chelsea?
It's the last game of the season, Maury.
Was it Man United at home?
No, the year before.
It was the year before that.
Oh, was he?
Yeah. He's just standing there chewing his gum, like.
Honestly, he'd been there for a good 5 or 6 minutes for it.
The ball just wouldn't go out of play with it.
But that could be the answer to all of our prayers. When Neves gets sent off at home to Brentford and we lose 1-0 again, Moutinho hasn't recovered from the knock he picked up for Portugal against Andorra.
Why he hasn't retired from international football, I don't know, man. That bloke's
And
ridiculous. He's
then
ridiculous.
Donker's self-isolating because he's come into contact with somebody who's got COVID.
To be fair, there's a big chance of that. Kiefer Moore was isolating, wasn't he?
That's another thing we've got to take that into consideration as well.
You actually do. You actually do.
Unless Luke Kundle could be the next Frank Lampard.
There's nothing. You can't rule it out. We can't sit here and rule it out because we don't know these players really, do we? Until they're thrown into the
Very false.
True.
No, very false. It's so false. It's very bad.
He's messing with us now with the bloody production. What Talking Wolves rumour was you referring to there, Pedro?
Hey, Salomon Rondon's going to Everton.
Rafa Benitez, his biggest fanboy, isn't he? He was, I have to say, when I've been up to Newcastle to watch us play, he was ridiculously good. Up front on his own, he's brilliant.
Again,
We almost were signing the 1 year. Was when we signed Willian Jose, I think we were looking at him, weren't we?
Yeah.
I'd have taken him all day long.
You would, in hindsight, now have a fucking that donkey.
I just thought, that Luke Cundle probably won't play and we'll probably put Hoover in midfield. Like a kind of inverse Kevin Fowley kind of situation.
Probably.
Yeah. So let's list a few then, because I mean it's transfer deadline day. We need to talk about transfers. We know we don't want to go in and start panic buying, but there's been a few over the years, hasn't there? So name your favourite panic buy who just absolutely didn't work.
Grant Holt.
Obvious go-to. It's an obvious go-to.
Claridge, because he fucked the season up.
Oh God, I still hate that guy. Because then the worst part was when he played for Millwall against us a few seasons later, he scored a goal that meant we couldn't. We fucked up the automatic promotion.
Yeah, it's got a penalty.
Yeah, fuck. What a shit footballer as well.
I know. I think Grealish modelled his socks off Steve Claridge.
You know what?
He didn't really.
Grealish wearing his child's
Claridge for a while.
Yeah, it was a place for a bit.
Yeah.
I was thinking about the shin pads thing. If Neves had shin pads as small as Grealish's children's ones, would his leg be in two pieces now? After the weekend?
No, because it was still only a scrape. It wasn't. He didn't catch him. It doesn't matter because it was a foul. But
the thing is, Pogba coming over the ball as well, and now I thought that was something that was meant to be pulled up. Same as sort of leaving the ground, going over the ball, reckless, out of control. I haven't listened to this week's podcast, I must admit, but I'm assuming you've talked it to death, so I don't want to talk about it too much. But it puts me off the Premier League, I'm not going to lie, because it's just cheating.
And we could be sat here on 1 point instead of 0. But going back to the shit transfers, Yannick Sagbo was the other one that I thought. Like him, and did we have him and Danny Graham at the same time?
Possibly.
I feel like that.
Danny Graham was good everywhere else. He was like a bit 2 stone overweight when we had him.
I think he scored on his debut though, from what I remember. I think
when we signed Jermaine Pennant as well, that was a bad one.
Oh bloody hell, yeah.
And Jeremy Aliadier.
He was actually okay, I thought.
He wasn't for us.
He didn't live up to the hype, but I thought he played okay.
Yeah, he was probably one of them where it was at the right player at the wrong time because he did have something about him, and it was just never showed it here as everyone else does.
What about Gunnar Haller when he came in to replace Muscat towards the end of that season?
Remember when we signed Oleg Luzhny?
3 games.
He wasn't interested.
Definitely.
What happens when you sign players who ain't interested?
Well, it was on one of the it was either Old Gold Club or the other one, and they had an interview, and they were talking about Oleg Luzhny, and they said that every Friday he was just injured on a Friday, so he'd have to travel and play the game on the weekend.
It's madness, saying it like
It's
When you hear
stealing
that.
a living.
It is
blagged
mad.
the way through their careers.
It's like yeah, Kasper's Gorks, bloody hell, he was a shocker of a transfer.
Oh, Carlton Cole, 6'4", but jumped 5'3". I don't think I ever seen him win a header.
I swear, at the time, he'd scored a couple of great goals for Chelsea, and we signed him. It was quite a bit of hype around him. He scored like 1 goal for us, I think, something like that. We still got promoted that season now, so it's fine.
Marlon Harewood didn't have the best time at us, apart from that goal he created for
Keogh.
Was it the diving header?
At Derby, yeah.
Brilliant that was.
That was amazing.
And Kyle Reid did nothing apart from the goal against Barnsley.
Yeah.
Secured it.
You only go further back and throw Darren Peacock into it.
Yeah, he was.
I didn't have the pleasure, to be honest. So.
He was terrible.
First Wolves player with a ponytail.
The first? Surely not. Well, John DeWolf never tied it up, did he?
No, of course he did it properly.
Yeah.
Quack.
Brand new. So we tweeted about the Northampton win in the Carling Cup.
Yeah.
I didn't know Nubly scored that day. That blew my mind.
He couldn't trap cement. He couldn't.
He was awful.
Terrible.
He was so bad.
I don't know how he's still playing. He was at Colchester a couple of seasons ago.
He's still a league footballer. I think he was at Newport. I think he was at Newport last season.
I mean, you look at some of these players and you think you've had a good 12 years in the pro game and you're shit.
very much who you know.
Yeah, defo.
Man.
Who else have we had that was really bad? We've had loads, haven't we?
Robin van der Laan. You can think of Robbie Slater. You can think of pretty much everyone from like 98 onwards.
Robert Neestroy.
Robbie Slater. Slater was the same time as Claridge, wasn't he? And they both started that semi-final.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. What the fuck were we playing? I mean, when you talk about it now, being shit and calamitous is just what we do. So today, it shouldn't be like a thing to be angry. It's just what happens, you know?
I thought we'd turn the corner, to be fair.
We have, Luke, we're still a established Premier League club.
Sergio Aurier's contract mutually terminated.
Get him to play centre.
We'll get him on a free play centre mid. But yeah, we have turned the corner, so you know we have got to be grateful for that. But I still go back to Fosun feeding us bullshit. That's the problem. If they would just come out and say, you know, we want to get the team in the Premier League, take it from there, but instead chatting all this shit.
Yeah, 10-year plan. That's then a 20-year plan, and the goalposts are moved to the next. Well, to the next stadium on the I-54 if they got their way, which you can kind of see what's.
So where are we at with the ownership and the long term? Then, in your eyes, what are you hoping for here?
Get rid of that Vinny for a start. Seriously, he's bad. Yeah. Bad news. He's bad news. He's got to go. Get rid of that other guy,
Russell.
The sunbed guy. Get rid of him.
Oh no, that's
who's the sunbed guy?
The one with the sideburns.
Matt Wild.
Yeah,
Matt Wild. There's the admin
all
guy.
All three of them. They're bad news. Get rid of them 3.
Who's coming in then, Luke? Because someone's got to do them jobs.
I don't know people who work in those roles, if I'm being honest, mate. I only really know footballers. But get, alongside Jeff, get somebody with a footballing brain. Get a footballing man.
That's Scott Sellers?
No.
But I mean, you're saying all the right things, but in theory, it's all in place already.
What's all in place? The wrong people in place.
There. They've got a director.
The wrong people.
Kevin Fowler was a director of football, moved on to bigger and better things. That's what happens.
Gutted, and even Dalrymple gutted.
I don't know about
absolutely gutted that they left. But number one, that Vinny, he's got to go.
Well, you could see as soon as you saw him for the first time, you could see that he's shady shark eyes. You can't. you can't trust someone who looks fish-like. You just can't. And he's just got one. He's got one of them things that it'd sell you something knowingly broken.
Yeah,
he just would, and he'd have no remorse.
Yeah,
just get
honestly, he should be part of the Conservatives. The Conservative Party.
He probably is.
I bet he was a Tory, 100%.
I'd love to know if like people spoke about us in the same way, only knowing us through a screen or through their ears, like on audio.
I can guarantee
that. They actually think you look like a fish. You look like a fucking market trader who's going to say you're something. You're the metal man. You're the scrap man, Luke.
You know what? They're probably doing. People are entitled to their opinion. That's fair enough. But Vinny has got to go. Guy's a clown. Absolute clown. He should be working.
I still don't get the Hamburglar thing, though. I don't get the Hamburglar thing.
It came because when they turned the WV1 bar into McDonald's, that's where that came from. That wasn't me either. Someone else said that. I just created the
no,
picture.
no. I understand it might not have come from you, Steve, but yeah. I mean, it's obviously out there in the ether now, so it's just going to stick, isn't it? So.
I just think Jeff needs a bit more help and support because let's not forget, Jeff.
People are turning on Jeff, though. People are turning on him,
and rightly so, because he's the one who come out with the bullshit when they brought the club. And Jeff knew fuck all about football when he first come to this club. He needs some help, he needs some support, and he needs some education.
Yeah, I think he's very.
But again, I go back to the point: what realistically are we hoping for from here?
And we just said the
midfielder.
Honestly, 3 minutes left. The thing
tickets that don't cost 850 fucking quid in the Billy Wright for a start. You know, it's all right putting these season ticket prices up, and then they go and mug us off in the transfer market like that and taking the piss.
Yeah, they've shot themselves in the foot with this because the promises just haven't. Nothing. It hasn't lived up to it at all. We've made a profit in a year when we were screwed financially, even though it's 3 million net on transfers. We'll still probably lose it on COVID from last year.
So how do we get back to supporting the club and being back on side with the ownership then?
I think
that's up to them now.
Okay, so what? Give me something though. Like, just say you can't just say that. What do you want to see?
Stop making empty promises. Stop chatting shit. If you say you're going to do something, do it. If your manager is literally begging you in the media, telling you exactly what he needs.
That was like my dad telling me off when I was a kid. This is like, stop chatting shit. Stop making empty promises.
But it's right.
If you say you're going to do something,
it's right though. Like, if just go through with what you're saying. Like, be open, be transparent.
Is it that straightforward?
Of course it is. It's not hard, to be honest.
There's being honest, and then there's saying you want to achieve something, and then maybe you're not quite working out. That's just life, isn't it?
There is one thing that no one's mentioned as well. That all this sell to buy nonsense is from the club itself, and it's not from Fosun. Because if you remember that video that Chairman Grow did with Bloomberg last year, and he was saying about that they rang Wolves as Fosun Group and said, if this is on the Bloomberg website, it's not bollocks. It's all out there. And he said they rang them to ask them if they needed any money, any support through COVID and stuff. He said, no, we're perfectly fine. We're self-sufficient. We'll do it ourselves. So if he's there offering to help with money injection, and Jeff or whoever, well, you think it's Jeff because he runs the place, he's turning around and saying, no, we're going to be self-sufficient.
That doesn't mean it's never going to be there. There's still the option that, you know, the Fosun could, at the right moment, at the right time, give us that little bit of a boost.
Yeah, which is, I think that's the next step, because we've tried being, we're effectively like what we were with Steve Morgan. We're self-sufficient. We've got no extra money to spend. We've had to sell to buy.
Well, are we on a countdown yet, by the way, or not?
Just 100
Let's all refresh our Twitter feeds in absolute hope.
There's 10 seconds left. Feels like New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
I think apparently Nigel Lonvite's gone out on loan. I'm reading.
Really?
Yeah, but I don't think the club wants to tweet it yet because they get all this shit in the
I
way.
know.
I would love it if they put the new if they tweeted out at 1 minute past 11 and said this is the new merchandise range
Or,
for the
or Wolves lottery.
yeah. Well, this is the 164 quid hoodie that you asked for. Here you go. You can buy it now.
There. Oh yeah, that'll be a nice little addition to the club, wouldn't it?
Well, they might as well now. They've already
that's
took the
11
piss
p.m.
once, so crack on.
That's 11 p.m. gents. That's officially the window slamming shut. Have we got a little jingle for that? No.
Boom.
And we've thrown the key away behind us. No more incomings, it seems. Wolves working with the squad they've got. That's a transfer window of Jose Sarr, Francisco Trincao, Yeson Mosquera, and Hwang Hee-chan as first team additions to the side. Safe to say that it's not been the most overwhelming last few days to the transfer window anyway, and perhaps leaving a lot to be desired. But you can all take out your anger on social media over the next couple of weeks until our next fixture. Any final thoughts? Sorry?
Score it out of 10. Score the transfer window out of 10.
I actually still think it's as good as a 7. I think it is. I think we've done better than people will believe.
We've replaced a goalkeeper with a goalkeeper. So that's one thing. We've replaced an injured forward with someone else.
Brought in an extra forward who will likely get us goal.
Yeah.
And brought in a centre-half. We have brought in a young centre.
And we've took a punt on another young kid, as is the Wolves way. So that's not a 7 out of 10 for me. Yeah, I'd say it's very, very middle of it's the absolute bare minimum that you could have done.
I'll ask you boys again in January then maybe, and we'll revise those numbers.
Yeah, I didn't expect anyone else to come in. I've said that quite often, and I don't think they'd spend any money, which they haven't. So it's for me 5 or 6, because the central midfield and central defence, other than bringing a kid in and hoping it works, and Kilman carries all of us in our hearts and on his shoulders. We were a couple of injuries away from being screwed again, which is ridiculous after last season. So 5 out of 10.
There we go, ladies and gents. Thanks for joining us for this. What ended up being quite an What the fuck are we doing here, guys? Honestly, 2 hours or what? 2 hours of just pure ranting, to be fair. But I hope you've all followed and enjoyed it. Obviously, we've got everything all over our social media channels: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Make sure you follow us at Wolves Fancast on all those platforms. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'll be coming out with some more content over the international break. Things like GTA Fancast. We'll have a special podcast, I believe, coming out in that time as well. And before you know it, we'll be down at Vicarage Road smashing the shit out of the Hornets. But until then, see you soon. Smart boys. God.
See you later. I'm off. I'm going to bed.
Just keep it on as long as he keeps it on for. Oh, you know what? The first half hour I was watching Mandy, which is possibly the shittest film I've ever seen in my entire life.
Watch that clickbait. It's good.
What's Mandy?
It's a Nicolas Cage. It said it's a psychological trip, which it kind of is. It's like a mixture
Is this
of...
the Cage fighting podcast choice then, or?
Yeah, it's one of Andy's. Well, a few people have said, "Oh, Mandy's great, you'll love it," and Andy's kept it until Halloween because it's kind of scary, but it's just wank.
Yeah,
it's just one of them.
Films be scary. It's literally a film.
Me and Matt are going to watch Candyman tomorrow.
That, to be fair though, I will say that's the one film that's actually scared me. But I was about 10 when I watched it.
Which one?
So, Candyman.
Oh, I never watched it.
Is it Candyman 2 when all the bees come out of his body?
2 or 3. It's been like 20 years since I've seen them. I can't remember now. Yeah, we're going tomorrow afternoon. See, wants to watch it in the afternoon because he'll be scared. So. Yeah, this. I mean, Mandy, we're recording 2 back-to-back, Mandy and Vengeance. Vengeance is all right, but yeah, it's one of them things where it was like almost like Hellraiser, trying to be Hellraiser too much. But it really wasn't. You might as well just watch Hellraiser; it's better.
To be honest, I've totally forgot. I missed Married at First Sight today. That's the next binge.
Is this the UK one or the Australian one?
It's a UK one, and they all look absolutely. Well, some of them look absolutely nuts, to be honest.
Well, there's a new one on ITV too, either as well. It's yeah, it was advertising in Love Island. I can't remember what it's called, but it's like you got all these blokes there, and some have got boyfriends, some have got girlfriends, and some haven't.
Oh yeah.
Oh, what's that? Single and Ready to Mingle or something?
Ready to Mingle or something like that,
yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, that's just mad. Like, whatever happened to the good old ones, like Blind Date?
Nah,
you remember that one? Do you remember?
Innocent of you, that is. It feels like Luke.
Do you remember Man Oh Man?
Yeah.
We used to walk across and push him with the fucking pill.
Not sure about that one. That's before my time, clearly. But
that long ago, was it? Chris Tarrant used to do that.
Oh, he has. I mean, Man Oh Man was. You're probably talking pre-2000 easily.
It was about 97, 98.
Yeah, it's got to be. It was before the one that was on No Lighty, No Likey, or whatever that thing is that I've never seen.
Oh yeah, that's
you never watched it.
No, it's on an awkward time, mate. I'm always out, or there's always a match on at the same time, and I ain't gonna put that on a series link.
That's fair enough. Dan has suggested his internet's gone. So if we all just leave, what's going to happen?
It should just save itself anyway.
No worries. Well, I need to get to bed, boys. So
same.
See you in a bit.
Catch you all later.
So yeah.
Bye.